right, and welcome back, viewers. We just had about 7:15 a.m. this morning, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. On our rundown this morning, we begin the conversation as we speak THA Budget 2023-2024 and the minorities' response. We will be speaking with Minority Leader of the Tobago House of Assembly, Kelvon Morris, so we look forward to those discussions. Also on the rundown this morning, we have Joseph Jordan, representing the TTPS, that's Sergeant Joseph Jordan, and we'll be speaking updates of TTPS and speaking to matters criminal offense, just getting a status as to what's happening here in Tobago and in fact Trinidad and Tobago. And we wrap this morning with Martin Lumpkin, and president of Tutor, and we are speaking about the Tutor is against the Trinity Mocha's grad students block. So we look forward to hearing from the perspective of Tutor in relation to that matter, which certainly came into focus within the last week or so as we are in the graduation season. All right, viewers, so as we get started this morning, we have on set with us Minority Leader for the Tobago House of Assembly, Kelvon Morris. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Skeete. Good morning, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, so as we get the conversation started, you would have had the opportunity to provide a response to this year's budget for fiscal 2024. How would you summarize in the first instance? Because, you know, it appears to be practice now that if it doesn't go on for a while, it isn't a budget speech or a budget response. But just give us a little summary in relation to how would you have termed or your feedback on this year's budget?
So my initial reaction when I first listened to the presentation was that I was a bit disappointed because the budget to me lacked a clear development pathway. And when I was able to interrogate the budget further, I recognized that it was quite deceptive, it was dispiriting and demoralizing, because here it is, the Chief Secretary had an opportunity to level with the people of Tobago, and within that whole presentation there were a lot of concerning things that were left out. For instance, it's only after you really look at the overall economic picture you would recognize that the Tobago economy shrinked by 2%, and that there was no mention of that at all in the budget, which meant even in the face of receiving the highest allocation in the history of the Tobago House of Assembly, the Tobago GDP was reduced by 2%, and that is in the face of a 4% increase the previous year. So what it meant is that this administration has performed worse than their predecessors.
Now, you speak about the fact in terms of the change economically. Would you say that this would have been common practice in the past, or more importantly, if there were, you know, in terms of increase or a more positive response?
Because what you would see if you look from the 2021 on to 2022, and knowing that we were coming out of the pandemic in 2020, it all goes back to your fiscal policies and where you focus your developmental budget. And what you would recognize in that situation is that there were a lot of, there was a lack of priority and a lack of focus in that budget that caused the arrangement to the Tobago economy to really underperform. When you look at the construction sector, we had over 35% decrease in the construction sector, and you would know as anyone into finance and economics that your construction sector is one of those primary indicators that would sort of tell you whether your economy is performing well or if it is underperforming. And that decrease in the construction sector was a concern to us and continues to be a concern to us. And at no point within his presentation there's any clear pathway as to how the economy would rebound. We did not hear a clear plan, a clear fiscal policy that would treat with ensuring that the economy rebound, and that is of concern to us at this time.
Now, you've mentioned the construction sector, and I want to delve into it just a bit because you speak construction, and I know one of the issues that has been raised by you for some time now is the treatment of contractors and others within the Tobago space, and more importantly, the audit, which the Chief Secretary has spoken to. Would you say that these are all contributing factors, and one would have expected naturally, if the funds aren't flowing in the manner in which it would normally, that there would be that kind of negative effect on the construction sector in Tobago?
Well, definitely, and two things there. And the current Secretary of Infrastructure said it best when he was vying for office. He said that when you utilize and focus the funding arrangements and place those funding arrangements and those opportunities to persons outside of Tobago, you are in fact building another economy. And this is exactly what we are seeing right now, where over $300 million would have been in construction work would have been given to persons outside of Tobago. And therefore, it means that what you are doing is really taking away that opportunity for Tobago hardware, Tobago businesses, Tobago workers, that money to be recirculated within the Tobago economy. And it baffles me, therefore, that an administration understanding the debilitating effects of such actions would then pursue a policy where you are single-handedly handpicking persons outside of Tobago and giving them the largest chunk of your construction budget. It also means, therefore, the policy of the previous administration was to utilize construction as that sort of catalyst to reawaken and reignite the Tobago economy coming out of a pandemic, because you know construction is one of those sectors that have a widespread effect. Because once you have the contractors engaged, then they would have to buy materials from the hardware, they would have to employ workers, they would have to get equipment, these workers would buy from the groceries, these workers would go out and spend at the restaurants. So the trickle-down effect is widespread. But when you have the situation where you have taken a policy to blacklist your contractors in Tobago, it is clear the results are showing in the economy, where the economy is shrinking, the construction sector is at a standstill, and therefore we are facing the kind of problems we are facing in Tobago.
No, we usually have a challenge with politicians where we get one perspective when they sit in minority and another in majority. Now, if you were in the seat of the Chief Secretary, under the circumstances that he has described in relation to having an audit that identifies concerns with particular contractors, and then the administration taking a position that they're not dealing with transactions for specific contractors until they're aware of the outcome, what would you say should be done differently in order to not have the kind of negative effect that you are referring to?
Julien, we have been here before, and the government of Tobago would have changed hands in 2001, and therefore we had a similar situation which the Orville London administration would have inherited. And you would recall those days, Mr. Hutchoy Charles would have embarked on a serious construction program, building roads all over Tobago. You know, the Castaras, that northeast road there, and all of that, those bridges that were being built at Speyside into Charlottesville, etc. The point is, they would have inherited questionable work. Of course, an audit was done same way. And what the administration, the policy and the position the administration took is that they would treat with all verifiable work. So it doesn't mean, it means that it doesn't mean that we don't have questions about the manner in which the work was awarded and the cost. But therefore, what they did was to verify those claims, have an agreement, and the Orville London administration went to a UNC cabinet, which was headed by, I think it was Mr. Yetming at the time, and was able to negotiate additional funding to treat with those verifiable bills, and that would have allowed for the governance of the island to continue without any serious disruption. And of course, we would have seen the benefits of that. I have consistently encouraged this administration that there's a difference between fighting and fighting up. Yes, we want to be Tobago strong. Yes, we have to stand for Tobago's autonomy. But at the same time, there's more benefit to be derived for Tobago when we collaborate with the central government than we fight with the central government. We see the benefits of collaboration. Even now as I speak, that road that is being built for $65 million that was given out in the most questionable circumstances that we only found out because a gentleman decided that he was not going to allow them to bulldoze through his land. That is the only reason we found out of that road. You know that road was going to be built, that road that is now scoped as a single lane highway. What we were going to get through collaboration would have been a double lane highway. And we were going to get that at absolutely no cost because central government was going to fund the cost of that to the tune of over $131 million. And here it is, we are spending $65 million.
So let me just get it clear. Under the circumstances, you're saying the same road could have been delivered through a central government. So is that to suggest that fundamentally there is no issue with the project, but it's a matter of the costing?
Well, that is the point. The road is a necessary road to connect to all the development that is happening there, including the airport. So that was always a part of the development plans for that side of the island. However, we are saying the manner in which the road is and the project is going is one that we have concerns with. In fact, the road, in terms of we have this issue now with EMA, where this road has been, where construction has started without the requisite approvals, and that is breaking the law. You understand? So the concerns are twofold, because you should not start. In fact, we at this point don't even know if they have the approved designs. No one have seen those designs. No one have the. Normally, when you're doing a project like that, there will be a big billboard, and the people of Tobago can see for themselves what they're getting, where this road is passing. Nobody see. This seems to be Trevor's best kept secret, as is a lot of things happening. A lot of things are happening in Tobago that is being done in the most secretive manner that is and should be of concern to all of us. Going back to the audit, there's an audit. We are being told about findings, but no one other than the Chief Secretary seems to have his hand on the audit. I've said openly, I have absolutely no issue with this audit. I have absolutely no issue with the administration taking actions if there are actions to be taken. Let the chips fall where they may be. But at the same time, the people of Tobago there should be a transparent process where the people of Tobago are kept abreast of everything going forward, because ultimately it is the taxpayers' money of Tobago who paid for that audit, and it should not be used as a political football or as a trump card every time you find yourself in difficulties. That is the only time we hear about this audit.
So how do you then respond to the issue? Because some would say when you speak to the parliament, it's not unusual for access to be had to a document. The concern being raised, ensure that it goes to the relevant holders. The Chief Secretary has said that he has sent it to the relevant individuals and so on to conduct the necessary investigations. In fact, he took the time out to say that he will not be sending it to the Prime Minister under the circumstances and determining when he sees fit to release it. Would that not be seen as part of what is the usual political play, as we have sometimes seen even in the Parliament, when certain documents come to the attention of the Prime Minister, that at his discretion, after the relevant authorities have dealt with, he determine when it is released?
Well, actually, the reverse is true. We have a situation now where the Prime Minister is being blocked from laying an audit by a citizen, from laying the audit in the Parliament so the national community can have their say and understand what is happening. That is transparency. And in the same vein, we are calling on the Chief Secretary to make the audit available to the public, so each of us can come to our own natural conclusion. And more than that, at the same time, the Chief Secretary is the one who gave the commitment initially that he was going to make the audit public. I'm sure you recall him saying that when he first brought this preliminary audit report in the House. So therefore, what we are asking is just for him to keep his word. Secondly, I am also calling now on the Commissioner of Police, because the Chief Secretary is saying that he would have provided the information, made the reports to various arms of the law enforcement. And I'm calling on the Commissioner of Police to clear the air. Let us hear whether this audit was in fact reported and what is the status. That is transparency, and I think that is a fair call that we now hear from the Commissioner of Police whether they in fact have this audit, because the claim is from the Chief Secretary that he made this report and it seems to have no action seems to be taken.
How do you respond to the concerns that people will raise? This is all political grandstanding. We have heard of things like these before, and the politicians never seem to get affected. It is the average man, technical officers who are in the system. How would you respond to the claims, as we have seen many a times? Things like these come up, it goes forward, and at the end of the day, there are no results coming out from it in terms of anyone being charged or any circumstances. Are you hopeful that it is going to be different this time around?
Well, as I have said, where there are issues, the issues need to be investigated, and therefore the lawful course needs to happen. With respect to charges and that kind of thing, at the end of the day, it's law enforcement that will determine charges. In the same vein, I am hoping that those audio recordings will be investigated to its fullest end, and with everything, let the chips fall where they may at this point.
What is your hope? And you mentioned it before we wrap this morning's interview, the audio recordings. We have heard much about it. The Chief Sec, in his response, quite brief, speaking to the fact that this would have been some time ago, etc., and it was not executed. Your thoughts in relation to that matter as to where it is at now? Again, are you hopeful that something will come out of that? We have seen government officials in video as clear as day. It appears to be person A, the person apparently. How can we as citizens be confident any at all that under the circumstances that this is going to make a difference?
You know, Julian, oftentimes people consistently say everybody do this and everybody do that. This is an opportunity with respect to this audio where we have, for the first time I believe, clear voices, a clear conversation of conspiracy, and the persons, they have been caught with their proverbial pants down. And I'm saying this is an opportunity for us to make an example of persons holding public office and who would have breached public trust. This is our opportunity to hold them to account. And it also means that going forward, persons who are holding public office will understand the oath of office and understand that that oath is a serious oath to do right by all manner of people without fear or favor, manner or ill will, and to hold the public interest at heart. So therefore, going forward, I think this, whatever comes out of it, would be a lesson for us all who are getting into public life.
How do you respond to persons that are still on the ground indicating that the PNM does not yet have the moral authority to speak to issues like this?
What I would say, and I said it in the budget speech, the PNM is not a perfect party. We would have made mistakes over time, and that is par for the course. But what the PNM has done has always owned up to its errors, and we'll continue to own up to our errors. We'll continue to apologize to those persons who may have been affected in ways that, would have disappointed them. And we will continue to work to be better. And that is what we are about. We have been in government serving the people, and out of government, we continue to serve the people.
All right. Thank you very much there. Kelvon Morris joining us here on set at the Tobago Updates morning show. Minority leader in the Tobago House of Assembly, giving his perspective, not just on the budget, but looking at the broader situation and concerns existing within the Tobago space. We want to thank you so much for joining us here on set this morning, Minority Leader Kelvon Morris. Viewers, we have coming up in the lineup, we will be chatting with the TTPS as we speak about issues and concerns, and more importantly, how the TTPS TPS has a hands-on approach at this time in the Tobago space, and in fact, I dare say, within Trinidad and Tobago. We look forward to upcoming discussions with Sergeant Joseph Jordan this morning. But until that time, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.